Hello and welcome to the history of cinemas in the Dover-Folkestone area in Kent, England for 1940 to 2020. 1940. The Odeon Astoria in Folkestone becomes the Odeon Folkestone. The ABC Playhouse Cinema in Folkestone is closed on July 27 for the war. The ABC Central Picture Theatre in Folkestone is sold to new owners. 1941. In July, the manager of the ABC Plaza Cinema in Dover was murdered by the 18-year projectionist, who was terminally detained. 1943. The Regent Cinema in Dover is taken over by Odeon. 1944. The Royal Hippodrome Theatre in Dover is closed after bomb damage on September 18. 1946. On January 18, the Odeon Regent in Dover is renamed Odeon. Isolde Cinemas takes over the Central Picture Theatre and Playhouse Cinema in Folkestone in April. 1947. The Odeon King's Hall Cinema in Dover reopens on July 14. 1951. On January 15, the Odeon King's Hall becomes the Gaumont Dover. The ABC Plaza in Dover is taken over by Isolde Cinemas on April 15. 1953. The ABC Ritz Cinema in Hythe is sold to new owners. 1956. The ABC Pleasure Gardens Cinema in Folkestone reopens. The Isolde Plaza Cinema in Dover is renamed Isolde. The Isolde Central Picture Theatre in Folkestone is renamed Isolde. 1960. The ABC Granada in Dover becomes the ABC Dover. The new cinema in Aylsham closes in September. On November 26, the Gaumont Dover closes for conversion into a bingo hall. 1961. The Royal Cinema in Deal closes in October for conversion into a bingo hall. 1962. The Isolde Playhouse Cinema in Folkestone closes. 1963. On July 13, the Regent Cinema in Deal closes for conversion into a bingo hall. The Royal Cinema in Deal reopens in July after the bingo movies to the Regent. 1964. ABC closes the Pleasure Gardens in Folkestone in May. 1965. The Ritz Cinema in Hythe closes. 1967. On December 10, Odeon sells the Odeon Theatre in Deal to Classic Cinemas. 1968. Isoldo sells its cinema in Dover to new owners who renames it Rio, closing it in 1969. 1970. The ABC Dover is modernized into a luxury lounge cinema, closing off the circle. 1971. On March 27, the classic Vogue Cinema opens in Hythe in the circle of the old Ritz Cinema with the bingo hall in the stalls. In September, the Empire Cinema in Sandwich closes. The Odeon Cinema in Dover closes. 1972. Classic Cinemas takes over Isoldo Cinemas. The Classic deal reopens on June 30 with 2 screens with a wall built down the middle with the seats not realigned to face the screen. 1973. The Classic Vogue Cinema in Hythe is taken over by Mecca, who operated the bingo downstairs and renames it Mecca Cinema. It's taken back by Classic later in the 1970s. 1974. On March 28, the Classic Cinema in Folkestone reopens with 3 screens and taken over by new management, who renames it Curzon Cinemas 1, 2 and 3. The Odeon Folkestone closes. 1975. The Classic 1 and 2 in Deal closes on January 31. 1981. The Royal Cinema in Deal closes on April 4. 1982. The Classic 1, 2, 3 in Folkestone becomes the Canon 1, 2 and 3. The ABC Dover closes on October 30. 1984. The Classic Vosges Cinema in Hythe closes. By 1985, the Mayfair Cinema in Whitfield reopens with 2 screens. 1986. The Flick Cinema in Deal reopens on September 11 in the old Odeon Cinema. 1988. The Canon Folkestone 1, 2 and 3 closes. 1991. On March 30, the Silver Screen Cinema in Dover opens. 1992. The Mayfair Cinema 1 and 2 in Whitfield closes. 1993. The Empire Cinema in Sandwich reopens. 1997. The Flick Cinema in Deal gets its second screen on February 5. 1999. The Silver Screen Cinema 1 and 2 in Folkestone opens by the end of the 1990s. 2018. The Cineworld Cinema 6 in Dover opens on March 9. Thanks for watching. Remember to like and subscribe.